Walk us through your draft day experience. Where were you? And did you have any clue that the Packers were interested in you, and how did that phone call come?
Yeah, well, there was people that weren't really affiliated with the NFL saying, well, you could be, anywhere from the second to fourth round. And so, you hear that enough, you start to believe it. And then, so I had a few friends over at the duplex that I lived in, and my parents. And, the first day, when it got to the later rounds, I think the first 5 rounds it used to be on the first day, 4 or 5 rounds, and the Giants called, and they were thinking about drafting me in the 4th round, I believe, but they traded their pick, so obviously that didn't happen. And then, so at the end of the first day comes and goes, and, there was, some TV people that wanted to be there, and nothing happened. And I was like, oh, geez, is this really going to happen? And, how embarrassing is this, to be interviewed and not have been drafted? And, Green Bay, I knew, was interested because they had come and worked me out. The defensive coordinator at that time was Hank Bola, and he, one of the coaches that coached me in college had brought in basically Hank Bola's defense because he had coached with him at Buffalo, and so we used the same terminology in everything, and so he knew that I knew, the defense and the same terminology and everything. And so he came and worked me out. And I guess after the fact, I was told that, in the 3rd round, he wanted to draft me in the worst way. And Tom Bratz wouldn't let that happen. And so anyway, it comes to the second day, and the Giants actually call me and have me on the phone. And I'm thinking, well, I'm going to the Giants. And, they were pretty good at the time, and Parcells was the head coach. And so I'll never forget this. They said, okay, we're going to draft you, but there's 2 people in front of us. One of them was the Redskins, I think, and one was the Packers. And so they said it may take a little while, so we'll hang up, and then when it's our turn, then we'll call you back and we'll draft you. Well, so they hung up, and about 10, 15 minutes later, the phone rings again, and we didn't have caller ID, so I didn't know who it was. So you just answer, and it was the Packers. And they said, okay, it's our turn in the 6th round, and, we're going to draft you. And so they did. And so it worked out fairly well for me because when I went to minicamp, Hank Boa, who was the defensive coordinator, was also the linebacker coach, and they had me start at inside linebacker, and then like in passing downs, and I put my hand down on the ground, and he would ask questions, and I would raise my hand and answer them during minicamp, the first minicamp, and the veterans kept looking at me like, how in the heck does this snot-nosed rookie know anything about this defense? And he's asking hard questions, and he's answering them, so it was kind of funny to see that because you could tell that the veterans were like, what the heck? How does this guy know anything?
During the draft process, you have no clue whatsoever. The only people that know are the NFL teams, and they're in lockdown. So you've got agents telling you stuff. You have all these draft gurus saying this and that. But at the end of the day, you don't know. This is your future. This is what you've always done. And it sucks when you got to sit there and wait. You're sitting there and you start seeing guys get picked, and you're like, oh, man, I know I'm better than that guy. I know I'm better than that guy. It just adds to the stress. The other thing that you touched on is you go to the Green Bay Packers. You know the system. And that gives you such an advantage over everybody else because now you don't have to think. You can just react.
Right. Yeah, that's huge, because it's, as you know, and well, most fans don't, that it's probably 90% mental and 10% physical, because you have, probably 90% of the guys in the NFL have about 90 to 95 have about the same athletic ability. The way you get on top, well, there's some luck because you have to stay healthy and you have to get your opportunity. But the way you get to the top is you study and you know inside out what's going on. And if you don't, you're not going to get your opportunity. So, to know the system was a huge advantage for me.